Hey, it's Farel again, and I'm back with a review, and it's not anything Yu-Gi-Oh! Like this time. Or is it? Well, anyway, the anime I want to review today is called Bakugan Battle Brawlers. It looks like a simple copy of Yu-Gi-Oh!, but it goes far beyond that, and ends up being called by some people as the worst anime ever. Let's go and see ourselves.
My whole world changed one day when all these random cards started raining down everywhere. At first, they seemed harmless enough, so a bunch of us kids invented this cool new game. That's when we realized those cards weren't so harmless after all. They were packed with incredible powers from another world. My name is Dan, and together with my friends Bruno, Marucho, Julie, not to mention Mr. Hotshot himself, Shun, and Alice, we are the Bakugan Battle Brawlers! Bakugan, one goal, two worlds!
Well, what'd you think?
Cards falling from the sky? How naive is that? Yu-Gi-Oh! Was supposed to be the recreation of a game played by ancient Egyptian wizards with the use of holographic monsters. Now that was very hard to take seriously. But cards randomly falling from the sky? It's also strange since the opening clearly states that the kids found these cards and invented the game themselves. Somehow all kids agree what rules to use, and somehow these are the rules that are seriously supposed to be used. Since all the baddies and monsters from the other world play by these rules too. Wow! By the way, the introduction I just showed you is shown before every single episode. Don't you hate it when a show keeps reminding you of what it's about? Here, it's not even an opening. The opening and introduction are separate parts. I don't get it. Why do kids need to be reminded of who is who before every goddamn episode? Are the characters so complex? Speaking of, let me introduce the cast in greater detail. We pretty much have 6 kids playing a game. We got Dan, who wants to become the greatest Bakugan player ever. So, he's obviously the main character, trying to be the best, like some other not-so-great anime characters these days. And then there's Marucho. He's a midget and wears glasses, so obviously he's the smart kid. Next is Shun, since if we have a Naruto already, we need a Sasuke. And then we have the 3 girls, Bruno, Julie, and Alice, which are best described as tomboy, girly girl, and the quiet girl, since girls have a very simple one-track mind, unlike guys, right? But now that you know the cast, let's explain the rules of this card game. Every match begins with both players throwing a card on the field, which stops time. Cause, you know, an object with the power to freeze time is best suited for a children's card game. Actually, why does time stop at all? How does that affect the experience of playing a children's card game? Anyway, once the battlefield is prepared, the players throw monsters onto the battlefield in form of plastic balls. Yeah, you get the idea. But wait a minute! If this is a card game, and the monsters are on the cards already, then why do we need their plastic ball representations? I can't understand why they have to be thrown either. And from this point forth, the monsters fight each other. The first player to lose 3 monsters wins. And that's it. Now, from my experience with games like these, I can tell that this is one of the most pathetic excuses for a card game ever. It's a simple monster ramble. Stronger equals better. Sure, there are other factors such as special abilities, field placement, and spell cards, but it all comes together to increasing or decreasing the attack power, which in this show is known as G. It's just called G. And there's no defense power as in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering. There's only G. And forget about mana or tributing monsters, you can summon any monster you want for free. With such an extremely simple game, how can they make this into an exciting show? By making it ultra confusing. In Bakugan, you won't know when the turn ends, when a player is legal to play a spell card or not. Also, monsters sometimes return back to the player after attacking, and sometimes they don't. You never know why. What's even more confusing, sometimes when they do get back to the player, they get resummoned again. But if that's the case, why didn't the player just leave them on the field? To make matters worse, this whole show seems to follow the "screw the rules, I have plot" trope. The rules get broken constantly, to a degree that you don't even need to know the rules to notice something is wrong. In one part of the show, several of the main characters have a hard match and their monsters get quite a beating. But they don't go off the field, no! They refuse to die and return as an evolved form. The most gross and strange example here is Preyas, who instead of dying or at least leaving the battlefield, stays there, gives birth to a new Bakugan, and that Bakugan is the evolved form of his clone, which he refers to as his brother. Quite an achievement when you think that he should have died. So now you know the premise, the rules of the game, and that they're being constantly broken for the sake of the plot. But what about the plot itself? Watch part 2 and we'll talk about that part of the show.